one of the most fun, well, probably the most fun, because right now we're in the thick of marketing and making everything as visible as possible and getting folks, access to the concept. The part that I'm still missing to this day is that little, 6-month window where it was just you and I and the team conceptualizing the three captains and making them what they are.
That's for the next wave.
Right.
Get started on the next wave.
Well, that I shouldn't get ahead of myself because I already have, and that's the whole other problem.
It's really hard to not get ahead of yourself, though, man. It's just you're so into it, and you just want to get started and get going even more. It's crazy.
Well, it's the amount of self-control required. You saw that ridiculous email I sent you a year ago. It had like 60 people in it, and you're like, I don't know what this kid thinks he's doing, but
yeah, no, you know what? That's a good thing though, because that kind of shows us your passion, that this is what I really want to do, and this is the direction that I want to go, and it just kind of gave us a good overall direction of, what you wanted to do with this.
That was something that we batted back and forth a lot. We were like, what impression does this leave with how much ambition and how much meat we're giving them to chew on? And, none of this is really, where's the line between you guys are, shooting for the moon and you haven't even crossed the sidewalk yet? But those steps were really, really linear, and you guys helped make that just as easy and simplistic as possible. One of the things I will never forget is seeing Alistair for the first time, having you guys complete
seeing the sculpture for the first time.
Yes,
that's pretty amazing, isn't it? Like you have a 2D like sketch or whatever in front of you, and you're thinking, wow, that's really cool, until you actually see it in 3 dimensions.
Yeah,
it's unbelievable. It's
completely
just, and it's one of your characters. It's
right.
You just can't describe the excitement that you feel.
Well, making the comparison to the birth of a baby it's pretty similar feeling to that.
Really,
that's mine. That's came from me, and I seen it realized in complete fruition and the fact that also
you've held the prototypes and the paint masters and stuff in your hand.
Yeah.
So you kind of have an idea of what it's going to be like.
Yes.
Just wait until you see the actual figures in hand, and you can actually move them around and pose them and stuff. I can't tell you how much. Like, I've got a bunch of test shots still sitting here on my desk that I just cannot wait to tear into, because this is all brand new. Even though it's stuff we've done before, it's still brand new to me every time. Every time.
That's something that I don't even dare dream about, because I'm still in the financial part of it. It's something that I just can't wait for that to be a reality. And the fact that they've been received, within the small entity that we are, they've been received so particularly well, especially Deathmoid. We don't stop hearing about Deathmoid, and I think
really? That's the most popular one, you think?
He seems to be, and it's funny because over the course of the development, he was the one that seemed like the most. He seemed like a shoe-in as far as his aesthetic went. He was really, really easy to present. Hey, we'd like a skeleton pirate captain. That's an easy ask, and it was an easy ask for you guys. And yet, when it came to actually dialing in what made him unique for not just the character, but the toy that he is, he took a little bit more refinement than the other two. One or two
passes. Especially like you told us, like you originally showed us the image, and so we did the sculpture of it, and the original sculpture came out just very skeletal, and you're like, oh no, wait, it needs to be dead, not an actual skeleton, but like a dead character, almost looking skeletal, and like
it was really
a little skin on. I was like, oh, okay, that would be cool. So it was a little bit different take on that character. Maybe that's what's connecting with people.
I think so, because what we have people resonate most with is that head sculpt. And I know that's what we went back and forth on the most amount of times, was to dial in that expression. Right. And I think what's communicating so much emotion and just gritty epicness out of that sculpt is when we finally figured out how to get, the actual working eyes, so to speak, within the skull, and that grin that goes almost all the way up to the side of his head. There's not a single angle where we photograph the prototype where he doesn't look like he's legitimately emoting at any stage, whether he's face on, side 2, quarter profile. his face adapts to almost every piece of lighting in a way that I haven't seen very many toys do. And so I'm really grateful that we pushed as hard as we did to get him dialed into the level that he was, because he went from skeleton pirate captain to something very, very different and very, very unique. And I think it is that people are responding to. They jump at him because he is still a skeleton pirate captain, but he's also doing something very, very, very different. And that's just a huge, huge testament to how intuitive it was when it came to working with you guys and making those characters what they are. One of the most fun things to me was getting through those first two, went from Morningstar to Deathmoid to Charybdis. And Charybdis was one and done. We did all that work for like 4 months or so. Once it was time to do him, everything was pretty well dialed in. It was boom, and he was ready.
Well, to an extent, like when you came to us with that character, we were like, that character kind of looks like other characters that are very similar to him. So we kind of had to try to change him up just a little bit, just enough to where it might be recognizable as other characters, but it's not that. It's something completely different. And also, once we finished him, he has all these barnacles and stuff, coral and stuff growing on his cuffs and his shoulder blades and stuff like that. And we had to go back in because the factory said, "This is really cool. We can't produce it."
Right.
Because and we're like, oh, there was a whole lot of overlapping parts and stuff that if we were to produce that, it would have become really expensive.
Yeah.
Because they would have had to remove all these little parts and then in production actually fit them back in and glue them properly, and that was going to be a problem. So we had to make an adjustment there. But it was almost one and done.
Absolutely. Oh, just about. Well, and especially when it came to, over last summer when his first pass had gone from, hey, let's dial in a couple more unique features that bring him even more defined into what Tide Realm is, and then start adding the layers to, what makes that world growing on top of him. And there was at least 2 passes where I came back to you and you're like, no, I think he needs more coral. I think we need coral here, here, here too, a little bit here.
I love that aspect. I've, having the coral on the arms and the legs, the lower legs, and the shoulder pads and stuff, I think it looks fantastic.
I think he's probably the most beautiful. It's like picking a favorite child, but from the very beginning, especially when we had dialed into, okay, this guy's not just kind of a sea creature captain. He's this ancient Leviathan.
Yeah.
There's layers to what makes him what he is, and elongating that squid aesthetic and dialing that into the level that it was really transformed him. And once we picked that, for lack of a better term, because it's what he is, he's basically a badass Squidward, that Squidward blue, and made him
I wasn't gonna say it, but
right. So I keep waiting for somebody to go there, and everybody's been so reverent to him, and I'm like, just say it, because it's what he is. He's brown and green. That's exactly what's going on. It's hilarious to me, and especially when we got him in hand for real and went, wow, that is the exact color of blue that we thought it was, and this doesn't communicate Squidward at all, even though we can still make the joke. He's way too cool. And it was really fun once we got all 3 of them at that Paint Master stage, and we have this, dark, epic, gritty, cinematic feel to these 3 guys. But you guys were able to help us get them to a point where, despite the fact that everybody has very earth tone color palette, they all have a metallic tone to a lot of their edges and their features that brings out some of the more muted colors. And so each character doesn't remotely feel muted, if you're what I'm saying.
Yeah, sure.
They have a really interesting palette for the 3 that the captains are. We were just really, really happy with how that came out, because we were afraid that all 3 of them would kind of turn, everything's very black and brown. No, they're very unique from the 3 each other, and the fact that each of those aesthetics defined each character in the category that they are really informed the rest of what made the factions what they are, and how aesthetically they fit into just the marketing, and how some of their variants, which I can't dive too deep into, but people will find out soon enough, will be. And all the work that Eric did on the Paint Master stage was something that just running into him at Legions Con and talking to him face to face and speaking to the person that had kind of breathed. There's not a single person at that studio that didn't have their hands on it that didn't breathe life into them in one stage or other. But once Eric had them and got that color on them, it was just as mind-blowing as when the sculpt was for the first time. And the fact that they had all this light in their eyes, and well, I cried.
That's what we try to do when we hire people like Eric Miller's the guy that you're talking about.
Yeah.
Is that, you know, he can paint. Okay, you can paint, but breathing your own personality and life into a character and kind of bringing it to the fore, that's what we look for.
Yes.
When it comes to sculpting, when it comes to painting, when it comes to anything having to do with this stuff, we like to see that.
Well, it was something irreplaceable, and just the affirming experience of being able to communicate with the studio in person on almost every level, whether it was long distance or really in front of people at Legions Con, was something that Legions Con didn't just make it real for everybody who's interested in the line. It made it real for us too, and being able to shake hands with everybody that brought it to life at each and every stage is something that I'm never going to forget, because you guys are irreplaceable to us. You've brought us to the place where we're at, and the fact that I'm going to give myself anxiety here. We're about 2.5 weeks out from launch. It's just the fact that all of that gets to come to fruition very, very soon, and see all the hard labor that everybody has worked so very diligently to bring to the place that it is. One of the things, because we're already at about a half hour here, that I wanted to present to fans of Tide Realm, and in turn Four Horsemen, because this is a process that's not going to be very new to some of that fan base, but we have some newcomers for Tide Realm that are getting into it simply because they like pirates, and nobody's ever slapped a very cool stamp on that recently, and suddenly there is. There's a lot of learning curves to what happens when
if you hadn't done it, we would have.
Right.
Eventually.
Something to that degree. Yeah. There's a lot of nuances to what brings an idea to a platform that funds said idea, and then bringing that product into people's hands in reality. And that's something that's going to be really fun, because unlike, a normal large scale industry, we get to share that experience with the audience and walk them through that process. Sure. And one of the things that I wanted to communicate with people is where each party's role is staggered within that process. So, a lot of Corsair Creations is the visionary part. And then when it comes to the production side of things, there's some other parties. You involve the factory, you have the liaison of our wonderful production manager, Bill Raleigh. There's all kinds of rotating pieces to what makes this happen and execute in its finality. And one of the pieces of comparison that I wanted to just bring to the audience to even help encourage comfort in delivery is the fact that, you guys have navigated this so very many times. And one of my favorite pieces of work that I get to do on a weekly basis is talk with our production manager and start working through a lot of the kinks and things that happen for production. What's your guys' favorite part about, once you get, hey, we got the resources here, now we bring it into reality, and some of the things that you run into are challenges when it comes to delivery, because it's not linear. There's all kinds of problem solving in between.
No, we just ran into another problem today that Jeremy's emailing us about. I've actually got to respond to a couple of emails there that there's always I just have to say there's always something.
Yes.
Like, nothing ever goes completely smooth. It's all enjoyable, and in the end, when you have everything in hand, and you kind of forget about that stuff.
Precisely.
But every single time something goes wrong, something is not quite right, or something, there's like there's a piece missing. Sorry, there's a piece missing, or there's like, I just got, where is he? This guy. This is Cog from our latest.
Oh, yes, I've seen him.
Latest Cosmic Legions line.
Yeah.
But it's not in the Cog packaging. And they happen, the shipping crew happened to give it to me.
Yeah.
Of all people.
Right.
It's the correct blister and everything,
Uh-huh.
but on the outside it's Hylor Crin.
Yeah. Yep. I can see that.
So,
well, that's
hopefully
one of the...
this didn't go out to other people. Hopefully
Right.
it just accidentally came to me.
Well,
I'm
that's
okay with that. I'm going to crack it open and play
right.
with them. But
right, and that's one of the things that's so.
But there are things like that just you just gotta when it happens, you just have to figure out a way to try to fix it.
Right. Most everything
it's always
is
going to happen. Stuff's
right.
going to happen. You can't ever do anything 100% the way that you want it done, but you know,
and there's a layer to that.
How often you try and how much experience you have
right.
doing it, something always goes a little bit wrong.
Well, and it just means that there's always something to learn, and you never stagnate, which is half of the fun of it. And there's a layer to, I think there's a piece of consuming a product that there's a little bit of a gate between the window of, there's basically 3 different entities that come together. I kind of compare it to making a movie, actually. It's reminded me a lot of that process. You have the vision, you bring the idea together, then you start bringing all the pieces required to execute the idea, and then you make the idea reality. And there's 3 different parties that come into place with that. And those people bringing the idea to reality, a lot of that is the factory. And almost all of that is long distance. There's communication barriers that folks have at certain levels. There's certain restrictions that the factory has that you don't anticipate at the beginning of the idea. And so there's a lot of things to dial in between, once you have your resources to make the thing a reality, now you got to figure out what makes that object function in its perfection. And yeah, sometimes it'll come down to, we had a bunch of packaging and we had a bunch of toys and we put the toys in the packaging. Yep. What's the problem? Well, just one or two things there.
That's the thing. All these problems we can either figure out before they get to the consumer.
Yeah.
Occasionally things get out to the consumer and then we have to figure it out and make things right with the consumer. The way I see it is, the worst thing that can happen to you when working with factories overseas is the container you're having shipped to your warehouse accidentally falls off the giant ship into the ocean and goes to the bottom, and you're screwed. Anything short of that, we can deal with it. We can deal with it.
Well, that's a perfect illustration, because that's kind of the point I was making. Everything's addressable and manageable, and sometimes if the resources aren't there immediately, it'll take a little bit more time than somebody initially anticipated, but it's all addressable. There's always something to be done if there is a problem to be solved. And the fact that there's levels of expertise spread out in so many different areas, from beginning to finish. Those folks at the factory, there's things that they do exemplary that I can't even comprehend us being able to do here.
It's insane how good our factories are. Like we're talking to a couple other factories now, and one factory has, they're really interested in working with us, but we don't think that they can do what we need them to do. We don't think that they can do, mythic legions or cosmic legions to the quality that we want to see them, or any of our other clients' projects. So, we have to have that proven to us.
Right.
We're having them prove it to us that they can do that stuff. But we'll see.
Right, there's a measure of standard that's maintained, and you guys have just, on an individual level, been exemplary in quality control, addressing consumer concerns. Customer service is always A1, and that's a business model that
Chris Gorich is really on top of the factories and stuff overseas. He's the head production manager. Bill Raleigh, that you said, is helping him out with a lot of that stuff now. And they really stay on top of the factories and make sure that the quality that we produce is the same or better quality as any of our Mythic Legion stuff, any of our Cosmic Legion stuff. Anybody's outside project deserves the same level of quality that we're getting from the factories.
Right.
So to try to find factories that are the same as the factories that we have now.
Difficult.
Nobody's been up to snuff. They've been to a lot of factories over in Hong Kong, and nobody's been up to snuff so far. We'll see. Maybe somebody will come to the fore and be able to handle it for us. We'll see.
Well, and people are stretched really thin right now in almost every industry, whether it's America or over there. Everybody's got really, really limited resources, and so we have these little groups of people that are tried and true and tested in that part of the industry. That includes you guys and all the factories that you've already been working